This is Peter Lowe, and this is the 5th video on the passive airflow technique. By this time, if you've been doing some of the exercises mentioned in my previous video, you will probably have found out that unfortunately it's hard work. There's no easy road to fluency. Even if you've attended a workshop, an intensive workshop, or if you've been doing the fluency exercises and have achieved some temporary success, you have to remember that an introductory workshop is only the beginning of a journey. And so in this video I'm just going to say a few things about how to make this journey easier, how to expand your current areas of fluency. And there are many things you can do. Presently I am in this particular phase, and I've been in this phase for about 35 years. It's basically that I gradually increase my fluency in all kinds of situations. Okay, I'm first going to discuss a few things that work against progress. The one is the subconscious mind. As you probably know, the subconscious mind plays a big role in everything we do or think, even though it's beyond the level of awareness. And if you've studied for many years, you may have acquired what is called the subconscious of a stutterer, and it can be really difficult to change that, to change from the self-image of a stutterer to someone who is more fluent. So and yes, and that's the self-image of a stutterer may not like becoming fluent, even if you on a conscious level want to be fluent. So that is something to keep in mind. I've personally experienced that I've had terrible relapses in the beginning of my treatment, and that was I ascribe that to the subconscious, which doesn't like being fluent, and that makes you more stressed. It increases your stress levels, and as a result you stutter more, and because you stutter more, then your self-image gets reassured. So yeah, that's one thing one has to deal with, and the main way you deal with that is to take it gradually, take it slowly, be patient with yourself. There are ways and means to deal with that. What I found is that stress management has helped me a lot to deal with my subconscious. Also, various self-help approaches as positive thinking and visualization, and at the time I read many books about how to work on your self-image. Then the second factor, which is an obstacle, is habit and conditioned behavior. A great deal of stuttering is conditioned, learned behavior, habits. And yes, if you've stuttered for so many years, then a great deal of that becomes deeply ingrained in your subconscious. So to deal with that, you really have to continue doing the various exercises which I mentioned in my previous videos. There is an important concept, and that is, don't be fooled by fluency. What that means is that if you experience some fluency, it may not necessarily be a sign of progress. Fluency may simply be temporary. It may be the result of lower stress levels. So the main weapon in your search towards fluency is doing those practices which I've mentioned in previous videos, and continually evaluating the quality of your fluency technique, and then also in combination and in balance stress management exercises. I am now going to talk about a few principles which will help you in your working toward fluency. The one is analyze your stuttering. For instance, if you've stuttered, ask yourself, what type of stress was there in the background that resulted in the stutter? Was it, for instance, speed stress? Did you speak too fast? If so, then next time try to speak a bit slower. The second form of stress could be authority figure stress. Did you, for instance, talk to an authority figure such as your boss or a policeman? Well, there are, for instance, there are role model exercises which you can preferably do within a self-help group, where you play the role of a subordinate as against a senior. So you analyze and analyze. For instance, if you stuttered in a particular situation, it would have been situation stress, such as telephone stress. And the telephone stress can be managed by means of the telephone hierarchy. I mentioned that in a previous video. And then there is the so-called word stress or sound stress. For instance, when you have to say your name, which is usually a big problem for people who stutter. And there are some very good exercises for that too, which help me personally. The one is the so-called mass exercise, where you really focus on one particular word. I've mentioned all these exercises in my book, my free book, and I will give details about my book again at the end of this video. Then there is the stress of uncertainty. For instance, when you have to speak to a stranger, or when you are in strange surroundings, a new place or a new job, or and the solution there is to also do role-playing exercises, preferably of course within a self-help group. And of course there's also something such as emotional stress or anxiety, and yeah, of course that also has to be managed. Some stresses can't really be avoided, but and should really be managed. And the last type of stress I would like to mention here is base level tension, which is really the total of all the various stresses on your vocal cords, and that can be managed by means of daily exercise, daily stress management exercises. So the first principle is analyze your stuttering. The second one is take it in gradual small steps. Your steps should be realistic and attainable. Don't go for a vague idea of total fluency in some time in the future, but rather some attainable steps for the immediate future. My third principle is a balanced lifestyle with stress management and also some emotional control, because if you are over emotional, it can reflect in your speech. The fourth principle is external support. For instance, you should really try to join a self-help or support group in your area. If there is not such a group, try to create it yourself, because it's very difficult to work with stuttering on your own. You really need that support. Also, in such a support group, you will meet new people whom you can phone. For instance, you can do telephone exercises by phoning another person every day. Or else you can also, or you really should join one of the Facebook groups, and that's also a type of support. The fifth principle seems quite minor, but it's actually quite helpful, and that is try to always breathe out of your mouth, and try to keep your lips always slightly open, even when not speaking. The reason for that is that breathing or exhaling from your mouth really means that your airflow technique will always be quite close at hand. In conclusion, a fluency technique is helpful, but many people may need more than just that. And personally, I've also found that I also need other things, such as mental approaches, such as positive thinking, being assertive, visualization. These are all self-help approaches to deal with the psychological part of a disorder such as stuttering. So I strongly urge you to also look into that. Stuttering is a journey, and for many or most people it's probably a lifelong journey. I wish you all of the best during this journey, and thank you for listening to this video. Goodbye.